Book sale day 2. What did I buy? So when I go into the sale, there's often this thing of like not immediately finding the first book, and then after the first book, it's a free-for-all. So in no particular order, Eating on the Wild Side. That's like a medium interest book. I think I've read bits of it, maybe owned it before, maybe listened to the audiobook. Went back to the vintage books, vintage field guide section, and today did pick up a guide to the medicinal plants of the United States after taking a little bit more of a look in it, mostly because I saw in this a plant that I have hardly seen in field guides about medicinal or poisonous plants, namely dogbane. And I liked the kind of narrative information on it as well. I mean, it matched with what I learned, but went in a little more depth, had some of the chemistry that I didn't really know the first time I learned the plant, and seemed very reasonable. And also I just love the retro field guides, as long as they're reasonable. Another book I saw yesterday, didn't buy, but bought today, Plant Survival. And the reason is that it talks about some of the like chemical strategies and relationships and the how and the why behind plant pigments and plant chemical communication with each other, with other species. Sometimes it's a matter of like, when am I going to see this book again? Or, you know, just using, drawing from a small section of it and then passing it on. Really in no particular order, I now have the Wild Foods Cookbook. So at the book sale there is a huge, nearly the entire back wall is cookbooks, but then perpendicular to that are a couple of aisles that have like the weirder ones. And sometimes I would pass up this sort of book because I'm not big into recipe books, but I liked that this one gives some kind of easy to visualize and understand identification characteristics of plants that I do absolutely know, but it's helpful to see that level of explanation to transfer it to, like, you know, other people's questions who are learning. Even redbud is in there. That's pretty cool. I want to call that Cirsus canadensis. And I grew up with it, a redbud tree, and it also has some significance to others I know. This was one I could have probably taken or left, but it is extreme nature. The reason I could have left it is it's mostly animals, but it does have a couple extreme plants. And I find it's always interesting to be up to speed on plants that intrigue those who aren't entirely in the plant, like the medicinal plant world, but, you know, things that catch the attention of folks. Yet another one I probably could have taken or left, and I saw it yesterday probably, Dictionary of Nature. I'm positive that I liked some of the definitions and explanations of the chemistry. Oh, and like just a simple overview of types of fungi. So even though I learned all this at some point, it's good to get a like 1-page compare and contrast, especially for, you know, teaching, writing, etc. This is one I might already have. I know that I've shared excerpts of it with a peer when they were doing some writing for hire and referenced it, and for a time I think I didn't have the book and they needed the page numbers and the details, so I grabbed that for me or someone. This is one, they're sticking together. This is one that I have owned and sold, and I can pretty much always sell it. And I have a small list of people who are kind of interested in buying it. So this is one that might either offset some of my costs or just simply, you know, I can get it in the hands of someone who's quite interested. A to-do list, priceless. Not that I don't have other notebooks. Oh, this one needs to be cleaned up, but this is for a friend. The Gallery of Regrettable Food. And in this, start thinking about aspects. I know some of us always are. Right, I'm keeping all the good stuff to myself, but like, you know, this is one of the more desirable looking regrettable foods. Oh, here we go. This one is really the creme de la creme. So this one will be spiffed up and be a gift. No, it's what they always wanted. Making Sense of Taste, Food and Philosophy. I think I've looked at this book before. It's in the not cookbooks, but sort of the adjuncts to the cookbooks, the sort of cultural food items. And, oh, it talks about like the senses, you know, the purpose of our taste, the science of taste. Maybe I haven't looked at this one before, but maybe I've looked at books that I thought would be of this theme, but were something else. Excited for that one. When will I ever read all these? Oh, Dangerous Tastes, the story of spices. This was also in that sort of cultural / food avenue. The Land of Pepper, the rarest of spices. Mustard, storax, mastic, saffron. Let's go back and review. Coca, spices of pre-Columbian Mexico, and on and on. You know, so you see the familiars, the vanillas, but I know I saw a few that I think of as more in the realm of the, I think of the medicinal folks. Could have been a different book as well. Always looking, well, not this one. Yeah, okay, moving on. I have owned this before, I think, or at least I know my little pal Hazel has looked at this book at the sale, so I picked it up today. I perhaps have sold it. I perhaps have left it behind before. Perhaps I'll find it's in the other room, but I think I can sell or pass it on. And this one has, well, like it says, wild foods. So it's not as if I'm looking for lots of recipes. That's easy to find or improvise, but I like the ones that really give you some background on the different plants from a teaching and writing perspective. Plants of Love. I think this one was like not where it should be. Maybe it was. It was actually in the sort of what I'm calling the adjuncts to the cookbooks, the culture and food. And this is one that goes definitely beyond the foods to, I mean, they're foods, but like they're real interesting plants. And I always gotta love a book with some molecular structures. I mean, gotta grab that before someone else does. I have plenty of ginseng background and knowledge, but just a little eye candy for you. This will be a favorite to many. It's not what I'm really reading for, but a nice book to have. A nice book to have at least for a time. The Complete Aromatherapy Handbook. This is one I left behind yesterday, along with a few others of the same theme. But I like the retro narrative on some of these plants, so for now I'll have it. And also aromatherapy books are fairly easy to sell. Not necessarily for profit, but for just being reasonable. I sell a little bit online, but not anything very industrious. Oh, this is a good one. Vegetable Gums and Resins. And let's take a look at the date. Also, it has a nice little, you know, memorial library tag, 1949. And here they are collecting the mastic. Let's just pause for Gums and Resins. Okay, this makes sense. F.N. Howe's DCS, Doctorate of Sciences. Principal Scientific Officer, Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew, formerly Botanist, Agricultural Department, Union of South Africa, and Economic Botanist. Agricultural Department, Gold Coast. Gotta love anything with Rampant lion with a shield there and some thistle. So now I just have to figure out a way to clone my brain and eyes to actually read all this stuff. The indices. I'm not showing you the juicy stuff, but we also have a typewriter typed letter about an overdue book. And it was this book. So there's a story here. There is a story here. Memorandum to A.D. Krikorian. Gonna scandalize somebody. On May 24th, almost the same time of the year, 1976. I wonder if you would return the material as soon as possible so that it may circulate to other readers. Kenneth First of the Engineering Library. That was a tactful note, wasn't it? Okay, so I didn't think I would show everything, but here we go. Plant systematics, and I always open them up to see if there's really something in there that I want to know or want to convey to others. And there is. And the question is when and how. But look at this. I mean, just the floral formula in reference to the saxifrages. I mean, come on. When are you going to find that again? Okay. Well, one bag down. I picked up this Buhner book. I've sometimes owned these, sometimes sold them. Some of the plants that are in a program I teach in are in there. So it's not so much to reference the book, but taking a look at the sources cited in it can be a bit of a shortcut and avenue to sources that another herbalist person thought were significant. The Berry Bible. I think we might have sold this at the nursery that I worked in, perhaps, or a book like it. But I opened it up, and actually recipes are always like a detractor for me because just look stuff up or figure it out. But mountain ash berry. So again, I'm going to need to leave 9 more lives. But what I also do is I share books like this with friends who have like peripheral or tangential interests to me, or who are more, energetic about making specific recipes. Foraging is still like a frontier to them. I've spent a lot of time gathering wild plants, and it is exciting, but I'd rather have an afternoon to like read or write. So anyhow, this one I like because it's not just your garden berries. Okay, one that I'm keeping private. Dinner with Darwin. I mean, the title sounds pretty cool, but I always take a look. Just read something about thrifty genotype. So this one is a little bit more animal, and the plant segment is probably what I'll be more interested in. Or there is an herbs and spices and a vegetables chapter. This is one I probably could have waited until another day to see if it's still there. But sometimes it's just like capturing that idea. There was at least one book that I looked up as an audiobook instead and purchased the audiobook on the spot with my Audible credit, because it was really just a couple chapters on the sort of plant stuff, and it was also of a theme that I just didn't quite, I mean, aspirationally I would read it, but would I really? This is one I didn't buy yesterday. It was in the sorters picks in like Psychology, etc. It's The Natural Mind, Andrew Weil, and I didn't find it quite as informative and sciencey as I wanted, but I did find some good gems. Also, a couple of other really weirder, more specific titles in the section that were there yesterday had been bought. So maybe I had a little FOMO. Not that I regret not getting those other ones, but But I also definitely look in the index, and sometimes, like, even if a book seems really, really narrative, like someone kind of unwinding their mind, can get into that index and find that there's some perhaps gems, or it's a good collector item, or when you're selling books, someone knows the Andrew Wild name, they like the vintage look, they like the theme. Plus, I mean, my type is still partially lawyers trying to get into psilocybin studies. Not the top of my list, but tends to be what the algorithm thinks that my dating preferences are, which has been interesting. Okay, so we have lewd food. I'm glad I saw that one. Lewd food, and it is actually on Aphrodisiacs. Getting a little close for talking about Aphrodisiacs there. So sometimes I do a little class or some articles on Aphrodisiacs. It's if you're getting into herbs or you are into herbs, it's kind of a fun thing to do for like February. Sometimes I can take it or leave it as far as doing that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, let someone else local do the Aphrodisiacs workshop, attend their class. But kind of nice because people write about aphrodisiacs, people write about food for, it's not as, for a time there was really, really less published about like medicinal herbs. Although when this was published, I think there was. Look what I found in the wild. Bevan Clear's book, The Spice Apothecary. So I was like down on my elbows practically on a shelf that was all herb cookbooks. And thinking that I wouldn't get anything from there unless it was something really specific. And I saw Spice Apothecary and I thought, I know something about that. So, hi Bevan. I have a little collection of books written by people I know. And some of them I found at the sale, some of them I found at our little Autumn Leaves bookstore, some of them I found, original retail, brand new, helping out your numbers. Sorry, Bevan, I didn't help out your numbers, but I finally have it. Yay! Okay, this is one that I got because it's just really useful, and so even though I have it, I'll probably be selling it or sharing it with someone. And it has, not expensive value, but more than the online, it definitely is going for more than the price at the sale. Really, really useful, practical book. This used to be a bit of a handbook for me, but not anymore because I've turned my focus elsewhere from tincture making to going deeper into the learning, the teaching, and the writing. Absinthe, Sip of Seduction. So some days I might have left this book just in sort of a temperance sort of mentality. Like I don't need every single book that could appeal to me. But I've sold and reduced some books over the past year or since the last sale. So I went for it. And I also think it's, sellable, shareable, collectible. I have been in the company of herbalists making absinthe before. It might provide some nice, I've seen that bottle before, or that label. It might be, might have some gems for a couple sentences in a future book of mine, which is already underway and has been for a few years. Haven't worked on it as much as I did in the first year, but I do some. Now this one has a bonus, which is an article about Bangkok Zoo offers exotic animal delicacies, which I should have read that to myself before reading it out loud. But the book is Strange Foods. And at first I was thinking it might be more animal oriented than this is a trippy cover. It's hard to know when I'm holding it the right way. So I thought a lot of times these focus on the charismatic animals, etc. for the shock value. But, and it smells funny. I mean, doesn't smell bad, but there's a story here. So, okay, we're seeing trying trying to get us to the plant portion. Here we go. So the whole latter portion is plants. 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 Universal plant edibility test. All right, well, I'll study that before I share it with everyone. Poisonous plants. Okay, we keep losing the memos. Rhubarb fool. Well, that's for another day. Flowers. Oh, here we go. I think the durian is here. Maybe that's what this book smells like. Is that durian? I bought at least 2 books with durian in them. Okay, okay. So you get the idea. We're getting close, folks. All right, there's that one I said is for me only. Okay, so I always know someone, if you know, you know. I always know someone who wants to buy a Hildegard of von Bingen's book, so I have these 2. I think I actually don't have it now because it is one that sells. Not for a lot, but for some reason that one piques people's curiosity. Among the thousands or hundreds of herb books in the world, that one piques people's curiosity. I got this. This is kind of unique and cool. So that's the category. It means it doesn't cost the same as a book. So I got this. I love a legal pad. One of my sweeties used to bring legal pads home for me, and it was a great perk, actually. But what I love, you're on camera, you're in your webinar, you've got some notes, and there's no shame in glancing at your notes, but I mean, check this out. Check out this enviable, and it looks like you can, yeah, you can refresh it with your own legal pad. Calico, good camera colors, botanical. I mean, if I hadn't bought that, I might be going back for it right now. And then this one, which I was excited about. There's a lot of books kind of like this. I mean, not like this, but in the section it was in that I have to really open up to see if it's for me. So the book of difficult fruit. I love a cheeky title. And it is difficult. I mean, some of these fruits aren't that difficult, but I just saw pomegranate, Osage orange. That's I think I know that from my childhood, but that maybe there's more than one plant called Osage orange. Probably is. Rhubarb, sugarcane, thimbleberry. Oh, I eat thimbleberry. This is cool. This is cool. I don't need the book to eat the thimbleberry. The ume plum, which I think I maybe learned in the nursery trade. The Japanese plum. I think they're a bit maybe easier to grow than some other plums in the colder regions like I've lived in. Vanilla I've worked with. Wheat. Xylitol. I didn't notice that when I was flipping through. Yuzu. Zucchini. I don't understand why zucchini is in there. Maybe because it's like people think it's a vegetable, but it's a fruit. But isn't it a vegetable? Somebody will know. Maybe they just needed an odd number of chapters for their publisher. That could be it. Quince. Quince, I sort of knew but learned more in the nursery trade. Medlar. Lump. I could be pronouncing that wrong. It isn't fair, we said. So that's just an example of an engaging writer, you know? Like, you don't have to be highfalutin, just be engaging. Kiwi, juniper, Italian plum, huckleberry, gooseberry, face clock? I'm not sure if I know what that is. Oh, face clock, is that dandelion? That's a name I never learned for dandelion, so that's even worth it. Elderberry, durian. I knew I wasn't hallucinating when I saw durian. Some types of cherry, blackberry, aronia. All right, now I know you're all very jealous. The Book of Difficult Fruit. And yeah, same shirt as yesterday, different day of the sale. I put it on after the sale yesterday for a couple hours, and it's really good for like getting You need to get on the floor and get on those lower shelves, and you can still be easy breezy beautiful and not look like you camped out overnight. So that's what I'm always going for. Okay, thanks everyone.